closest town. Yeah.
Okay, I think so. Let me, I think, use this opportunity to welcome you all, and thanks for inviting me. I'm actually I'm traveling. I'm somewhere uh in Kent right now. I'm away from my home, mixing up some sort of a, let's say, I'm working away from home, but at the same time I'm exploring some countryside in Kent. I'm in Asford now. So what I would like to do is I propose that I will cover some of those topics on the what is called the term called Bodhi. That's where the term Buddha came in. Buddha means somebody who is have realized, has awakened. Yeah. So this is the Bodhi is coming into that sort of direct realization of what? So there are various teachers, various philosophies, various kind of goals in life. Yeah. So and Buddha went for a very, very peculiar, seemingly impossible goal. And his quest, his goal was, what is this experience? What is our living body, sort of mind experience? Why there is a suffering rather than no suffering? So by suffering, he meant that, is there any way to be free? Be free of what? Be free of all the experiences. Bodily experiences, experience of mind, and these are, let's say, two dimensions of the world. Yeah. So if you want to reduce the entire universe, entire world into two terms, that will boil down into body and mind. Yeah. So body and mind is obviously is extremely, you know prolific topic. You can, if you search for mind and body problem, you'll find probably hundreds of thousands of talks, discourses, books, and stuff like that. So Buddha went into this mind and body problem, and he settled on one problem: why there is suffering, why there is an unease, and can we actually be free. Yeah. So that is the freedom, and that is the dimension of freedom, which is we call it. There are 33 different terms for that freedom. Yeah. And Nibbana is one of them. So Bodhi is sort of coming in that is borderline, is transition from the sort of universe, from the sort of mind and body problem into the state of being free from this mind and body problem. So we talked about this. I don't know. I would like to. I prepared some diagrams. So I'd like to experiment with this, and I'll probably see if I can share my screen. I do quite a lot of modeling. I do I do some sort of a modeling of some of the ideas in my mind to see if that makes any, my points any clearer. See, so if you can see my screen here, what I have tried to do is how this transition from a state of body and mind, state of suffering, to a kind of a state there is no suffering, and what is and Buddha calls it this a state of no assetless state, unconditioned state, fireless state. Yeah. So Nibbana is the state of no fire. Assetless state, there is nothing there. Nothing, no, not no forces in the universe can, and even if they try, they can't find anything. So it is a assetless state. Yeah. So this is the, when I looked at my mind, I boiled down into all my experiences for the last 10 years. and I extracted the fundamental of the experiences and see what is it all about. And I did a little bit of modeling, see if I can present this as a visual model. And this is the model of what is the state of mind, what is the state of universe, and what is the state of being the freedom. Yeah. So you see, this is the I talk a lot about the vibration, let's say some sort of oscillation and state of friction, state of unease. All these are the states that are you can aptly put them into state of oscillation, state of unease. So is that the mind is jumping all over the place. So this is a very very simple kind of a diagram. We are living in the world, and our world is confined within the range of this oscillation. So these are the six senses and the six sense interaction. Yeah. So you have the eye and form. There's eye consciousness. Ear and sound. There is ear consciousness, and you can go through all those six sense doors, and on each point of contact there is a interaction. So, and I say that each moment, each experience, there is a explosion happening on those six sense doors. Yeah. So, and that is how we make sense of the world. We perceive the world, and we try to do our things in this sort of a very very vibrant and very very shaky, very very frictious, let's say, that this world is is a very rich in experience. It is very very diverse because of the diversity of senses. There are six various uh, source of diversity of how we experience the world, and to be to summarize those experience of the world is I put them into one simple experience: vibration. Yeah. So this is the state of vibration. This the world goes on and on and on. It never stops. So there is you can talk about the philosophy, you can talk about some sort of music, environment, tranquility, all these sort of things. Those are all kind of all those experiences are oscillations. Yeah. So, and how do we transition from the state of that sort of oscillation, state of kind of being here and there, that sort of mm, in terms of all this sort of proliferation, a state of continuation, a state of back and forth, above and below, here and there, all these sort of things. These are all, they shake the peace and calm of the mind. So, and there are various ideas and concept of pleasure and the sort of state of happiness. And if we want to kind of compare the other teachings, other practices, even in the Buddhist philosophies, Buddha's say so-called followers, call it Mahayanas or Mahamudra, you call it give it any name, Tibetan Buddhism or some sort of that. They are all settled in various philosophies. But when we try to distill the key message of the Buddha and the path he gave of the four jhanas, four arupas, and what the Buddha says in any formula of those path leading to the nirodha and state of unconditioned, which is nibbana. His path is gradual process of letting go of experiences. So being free, being empty, being burdenless. And this is how I see is that The path of the practice of the jhana, the jhana that Buddha says is going about the being free, being ascetless. So, and I mentioned that in many times. Uh, Even the term jhana can be interpreted incorrectly, and if we cannot get this view straight, then even that sort of whoever achieved that experience of jhana, that may not lead to the state of the ascetless, the unconditioned. So our approach to a jhana should be, we should be coming from that the jhana should help us to be ascetless. So our jhana approach is by abandoning, by letting go of those coarser, vibratory, unwholesome states towards the state of emptiness. Yeah. So Buddha's path is the path of jhana. First jhana has got a lot of heavy stuff. First jhana has got that sort of rapture and pleasure, which are quite coarse state. Then on the second jhana, those coarse state are let go, and there is subtle state remain. And in the third jhana, those coarser, the what is called rapture and pleasure is abandoned, and there is only sukha left. Yeah. So sukha means the comfort of the body. So all this sort of so the Buddha's path of jhana is part of freedom, part of being being ascetless. And when I say asset, when the Buddha mentioned about asset, he largely focused on the asset of the mind, yeah, asset of those because mental assets they do really carry the most significant asset that we experience, yeah. So properties in cars and all these sort of things, material stuff, although they are called asset in worldly convention, we have got plenty of assets in our mind.
Sorry,
That
and what's that word? Asset.
asset, yeah, asset, upadhi, yeah,
ASSET. Huh?
yeah, yeah, asset, asset.
ASSET.
Your house is an asset, yeah. Your car is an asset.
Oh,
So
okay. All
mine also has an asset, yeah. You know that,
right.
and that
Okay.
is called upadhi, yeah. So that is called upadhi in Pali, and nibbana is called nirupadi, yeah. Okay, nirupadi means assetless. There is nothing there. Yeah. All asset is gone. And what is our asset? Our asset is our perception, our reaction, our mental proliferation. So we get those assets for free in this in a mental universe. Yeah. So our mind generates asset for free. Yeah. So in the physical world, we need to pay money, we need to work hard, we need to spend, we have to spend our time and effort, and we need to do some trickery, we need to lie, and we need to cheat, we need to sell and make a profit. Then we create asset. In the mental dimension, they are all free. Yeah. Mind gives you asset. As much as you like, you can so easily be asset, full of asset. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Erica, happy to for you to comment if you got any question, anything. Yes, just feel free to stop me if you find anything that you want to discuss. Yeah. So this is because I come from the very scientific background. I wanted to give you something to remember. Yeah. So and this is a summary of my 10 years of practice. So look at this diagram, and I'll explain a little bit how I came up to this diagram. It took me a few days to plot. Yeah. So I use some sort of tool. See here, I did not distinguish between which jhana you are in. So this is the world. This plateau and this plateau. Yeah. This is the world or universe, you can call it. And our path of cessation is a gradual kind of, it is a slope going downhill. Yeah. And if you continue this path by letting go, and you do not, you let go and you let go. How do you let go? Being aware that, yes, in my mind, this perception has abandoned. I am now free of this perception. So you mindfully, you check and balance. Yeah, I talked about the check and balance. Is that each moment you need to be aware what is present and what is let go. What is present and what is let go. Yeah. So this path, what happens is that you can lose your consciousness easily. Yeah. So you can go to any lab and you can go to hospital. They will put an injection and you will lose consciousness. Does that mean niroda? No. Yeah. Because there is no awareness. There is no what is called sampajanya. Yeah. Sampajanya means full awareness. So Buddha's path is being fully aware of what is in the mind and what is not in the mind. You empty the perception bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit, and you know that everything has let go of, and that's it. The experience is gone. Yeah. So you can only arrive at this state of unconditioned or assetless state by being aware. Yeah, by being aware. So that is why Buddha said that there is a very very peculiar state called what is called the unconscious being. Yeah. So those beings who suppress all this mental asset, but when they suppress, they cross mind with mind. Yeah. That's sort of, if they do that, they will reappear in what is called that sort of unconscious being. Yeah. This is where they may have a body, they may have all this sort of physicality, but they are not conscious of. So, and they will remain in that existence for, I don't know, thousands of Mahakapa. I have not looked at. There is a sutta. I can dig out that one, and it is somewhere in it's like a fourth jhana or some in between. Yeah. So that is one state of. It is called a station of consciousness. Yeah. There are seven stations of consciousness that the Buddha said, and that unconscious being is one station of consciousness. So, and those other consciousness are the infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, and neither persons. So there are seven stations of consciousness that this kind of mind can be stuck. Yeah. So if you are not practicing of having that sort of full awareness, what is there and what is not there, then you can fall into that sort of a trap of in those sort of let's say in those realm. Yeah. So I know we talked about four jhanas and arupas. Yeah. So even Buddha's time when the Buddha was born, he when the king the Buddha's father wanted to him to forecast what is the destiny of this child, what is why this child is so special, and there was a sage called Asita, yeah, and that Asita was a meditator who attained to the base of nothingness. He managed to enter that realm through suppression of all the other mental state. He just went to that state. But that Sita, the sage, he wept and he cried, "Look, I am the most unfortunate being in this universe. I have got this child who is going to be a fully awakened, fully who can give that sort of a remedy for the freedom from this whole cosmos, from this universe of existence. But I have got only, let's say, 3 or 4 months remaining in my life, which I cannot extend because our human life is limited." So he said that, well, I'm going to be stuck in the 20,000 Mahakapa in this nothingness, and in front of me there is a future Buddha who could lead me to the unconditioned state. Yeah. So that is why uh, if we do not understand the Buddha's path is the abandoning, is letting go of assets, then we might be lining up with the same type of philosophy, same type of, approach of various teachers and various, practitioners who might get stuck in those plateaus. Yeah, these are all kind of all these and steps. You can see that there are plateaus. What we need to do is we continue. Our path. Buddha says that don't get stuck in any of those states. You need to be assetless. Just be free. Yeah. So this path is like a jhana. Buddha's jhana is a path of freeing of experiences. Yeah. So freeing of the course of experiences, and by doing that, going that process, you'll discover more and more refined and subtler experiences. And finally, oh, when all these experiences is let go of, then you will have the moment of what is called the cessation of the brief moment of cessation moment. And this experience can last up to 7 days. Yeah. So there are suttas that say that if you know how to remain in that state through your volition, through your, say, if you have managed to maintain that sort of sila samadhi panya, that sort of refined state, and you have become very very composed, and you have developed that sort of good, let's say, three qualities, sila samadhi and panya, then you can go into the state of nirodha for your determined state. If you look at the Majjhima Nikaya 111, the Sariputta says that you enter this state by prior determination. Yeah. So only thing that you can fix during this entering the cessation is your prior determination of the duration. Yeah. And that duration is 7 days. Yeah. So beyond 7 days, then your ayu sankara, your bodily vitality would exhaust, and that will let you go out of this human existence. So what I'm saying is that you can stay in a nirodha, but as you know, 99% of the people, they can only stay in a nirodha for a few minutes or a few hours, yeah, or a few days, yeah. So and this duration of staying in a nirodha, this is not some sort of, it's not Olympic, I don't need to brag that I can stay in Nirodha for 7 days or 6 days, 5 days. Who can stay in this Nirodha for longer? There is no need to boast about this, how long you can stay in a Nirodha. Buddha's path is not a duration of how long you can stay in the Nirodha. It's about this process. Have you been able to go back and forth? Yeah, and uh, I will I will read Tapusa Sutta. That's where Buddha is giving. What is the critical? What is the recipe for awakening? It's not staying in the Nirodha for 6 days, 7 days. It's about this going into Nirodha, coming back, going into Nirodha, coming back. So it's about this being familiar with this transition between what is called entering the cessation and arising from the cessation, entering the cessation. And if you can do that from neither perception, going forward and coming back, nothingness, going forward and coming back, uh, infinite consciousness, going forward and coming back. So from each of those jhanas and rupas, you can dip into cessation and come back, dip into cessation and come back. So what the Buddha did in the night of his awakening in the Tapusa Sutta, he went to each of these, nine stages, deep into session, came back, deep into session, came back. So when he exhausted all the sort of steps, then his fetters were fully smashed, fully broken up. So that then when he managed to do that, then he claimed that that's it, I am the first Arahat. Yeah. So he and what the arahats can do is they have gone into that practice so uh, extensively that there is nothing left. No fetter, no kind of experiences that are residue, no residue left of any assets in the mind. What are those assets? Reactions, those perceptions, those mental proliferation, those kind of tendency of mind. Those they become completely. It's like when you scrub, when you polish, that if there was some dirt and anything that you do first scrub, there will be some dirt, dust and dirt left. You do another scrub, it will grind away that one. So they do go by doing this sort of practice of going into nirodha and coming back, going into nirodha and coming back. It will polish off and it will completely wash away all the sort of experiences that mind has. Mind has got those sort of finer and finer assets. And when you are clean and when you are completely free, and that's it. You don't need anybody giving you a certificate. You become an arahat. Yeah, mind will tell you. That's it. You are arahat. Yeah, and how do you know you become an arahat? You just tell you ask your mind. Is there anything left? That's it. Mind will give you a straight answer. There is nothing left in this mental experience that you can cling to. You cannot cling to anything at all. There is nothing left to cling to. No clinging to nirodha, no clinging to nothingness, no clinging. Everything has been gone. So it's like you are suspended in that sort of dimension where there is nothing left to hook into. Yeah. So, and that sounds like a very the philosophers and the sort of practices, other people who do not understand what is emptiness, who do not understand what is the assetlessness, they become frightened. If I cannot hold on to this pleasure, if I cannot hold into the fourth jhana, if I cannot hold into the nothingness, if I cannot go get into what is there for me to hold on to, I need that sort of, I need to something to cling on to. And Buddha says that drop that even the finest fetter, finest thread that is keeping you in this sort of experience, world of experience. Just let that go. Everything, when the mind is freed, when all the ties and fetters of from all those other things is it's just gone. Yeah, nothing left to cling to. So that is the state of freedom from above, beyond, across everywhere. So that is the state of assetlessness. That means it is the relief. It is a relief of not having to carry any burden in terms of assets. Yeah. So we might think that we need this body, we need this eye, we need this ear, we need this tongue, and that sort of let's say sense organs to be able to experience the joy and the happiness. But think about that, because if you got those things, that means you need to have awareness, you need to perceive, you need to sense, you need to cognize, you need to process. Now this processing, this interaction, this engagement is a overhead. This is something, an unwanted activity. Yeah. So when you are in the very, very exquisite state of nothing needed, nothing necessary, just in a kind of state of complete emptiness, and all of a sudden you have to sense, you have to see the color, you have to make sense of it, you need to do that. That is all burden. Yeah. So only after going into that sort of dimension of complete freedom, you know that this universe is suffering. Yeah. So this four noble truth is very, very deep, extremely precious and very, very, I would say, people can interpret this in a very, very shallow manner, but the Buddha's four noble truths goes extremely profound. And if we only if we know the noble truth in this manner, then we understand, this is why Buddha said suffering. There is suffering in this universe. There is suffering. Only after you have tested what is the freedom, what is the overheadless state, and when you come back to this state of you need to cognize, you need to perceive, you need to, feel, feeling, perception, consciousness, these are not happiness. These are, these are still suffering. Yeah. So I know there are philosophies, there are, and ideas that, you and universe is the same. There is, eternal existence. There is, you can remain in the immortal state forever. All these these are concepts. Yeah. These are ideas. So the state of unconditioned, state of what is called the no fabrication, the state of no imagination. This I don't know if there is a word called no imagination. I know there is no concept. Nibbana is the state of no concept. So this is why, it's quite easy that, this, what is difference between this philosophy and Buddha, what the Buddha taught, is not easy to explain. But what we need to understand is that Buddha's teaching is that sort of state. We need to look at the Buddha's teaching from the perspective of experience, and we need to be able to, kind of, and these experiences, how do we know these experiences are suffering? Only after going to the state of no experience and coming back and having to experience, you can see that, is, kind of, it is causing some sort of friction. It is causing some, and let me, show you, what the Buddha said. And this is in Sutta Nipata. So these are the key words. I talked about some perception. Yeah. So we need to, if we want to understand Bodhi, I captured this, some of the very, very important words for us to understand. Perception, sannya. Yeah, perception is that. What is perception? Perception is our interpretation, our projection of false kind of notion, rather than seeing the thing as they really are. Perception is that this is what I think. Yeah, it's kind of making that sort of opinion. Yeah, so perception by the very name is a false, it's not a reality. Yeah. And friction is that sort of what is called, Buddha calls it patiga. Patiga is that sort of, it's a resistance. Yeah, some sort of, say for example, you touch immediately with the sort of body and untangible, you got a contact, and because of that contact, there is a some sort of, consciousness about the material. Is it hard, soft, solid, and heat, coolness? These sort of things. These are the experiences that arise, and that will create some friction. Yeah. So friction in a sense that now when you don't know, there was nothing there, no friction, because you didn't have any feeling, you didn't have any perception, you didn't have anything, and you are having to touch and feel, sense. All these are gonna cause the friction. So that is the four great element. Having to come in contact with the four great element is gonna cause this friction. And in the mental world, having to come in contact with perception, having to contact with the consciousness, having to come to contact with the, craving, clinging, all these sort of things. These are all what it is causing is that it is generating what is called friction. Yeah. And in Pali, it's called patiga. So I want to I now what is this friction? So when I was small, I used to listen to some of the stories. And there was a in a village there was a jackal or fox. Yeah, I mean we get quite a lot of those children's story. I used to listen to those children's stories, not in terms of what the Buddhism, but it was just to keep us fascinated as a as children. There was a very vile and very ruthless jackal. All that jackal used to do was to go into village and snatch the chicken. And the villages were poor, all these poor villages, they are just surviving on the sort of digging and the sort of going into field, plowing and getting some maize or some rice and potatoes. They were just barely surviving on those whatever crops they could grow. And they used to keep those chicken at least to keep them going so they can have some reward of eating some eggs. And if they needed to get some money, they used to sell those chicken. And those poor villagers, they were, they suddenly noticed the number of chickens are shrinking. So the villagers had like a 50 or so, 100 chicken in total. And they used to know this chicken has got a red color and that sort of, because those chickens, when you got so little, not in a farm like, Tesco or the sort of, doing, they have millions of chicken, but every chicken counted. Yeah. They were so valuable resource for those villagers. And they are seeing that their chicken is gone. They don't see that the red chicken is no more. They cannot find it anywhere in the cages. So those chickens being somewhat diminishing in their numbers. So they were extremely concerned. Look, all our source of income, the source of eggs, and all this nutrition for the children, we are, we are really in trouble. If we keep losing those chicken in this space, we will be left with no chicken. That means we will have no money to buy and all this sort of, let's say, uh, salt or sugar or that sort of things. So those villagers were really concerned, and they were kind of putting that sort of. They finally put some trap. Okay, we're gonna monitor this chicken. Why this chicken is disappearing? They finally found why those chickens were disappearing. They found that there's a jackal. There's a that is killing all the chicken day by day, just eating those chickens. So they trapped that jackal and they knew okay, now we found the culprit. That's it. This jackal is the source of all the suffering for us. So we finally found a sort of a way to happiness. Now this jackal, what we're gonna do is we're gonna kill it, or we're gonna at least do something to make sure this jackal will never return to the village. So and if you, I don't know if you know about those stories in Eastern cultures, in Eastern societies, these jackals are the most cunning animals. Yeah, we have that sort of labeling in for those animals. Those jackals are the most cunning, the most clever, and the most, let's say, intelligent, not intelligent, shrewd animals, and they can even trick you. Yeah, they and those animals, they can just disappear from the wherever cage you put them. They manage to jump, or they manage to sneak through, and they will be free. Yeah. So that is why they had to be extremely careful how to not to let that jackal be free. So that villagers, they tried everything to make sure that that jackal, when they caught it, is not freed in any cost. So what they did, they dragged that, they tied that jackal in the neck, and they wanted to give maximum suffering to that jackal. So what the villagers did, look, you have made us some misery. You have eaten, let's say, 50% of our chicken. You must suffer. And they drag that jackal in a, so when they drag that jackal through some sort of a very rugged uh, land, yeah, and gravels and stones and those sort of things. And that jackal is, and that's why I'm saying, so that jackal was so cunning, so clever, yeah, and that when and those villagers, they pull that jackal and through that rugged land, and they also pull that jackal through a piece of, let's say, through lawn from grasses. And that jackal was very, very shrewd. As I said, these animals are quite considered very clever. And that jackal said that whenever the villagers, they drag that jackal through the grasses, that jackal screamed, "Oh, I'm in such a bad pain. I'm suffering. I'm nearly dying, and I cannot bear it anymore." And whenever the villagers drag that jackal through those gravels, he uses, "Oh, this is so fun, so so nice to be in that sort of this rugged land." Yeah. So the villagers wanted to give maximum suffering, maximum punishment to that jackal, because that jackal was claiming that, whenever the villagers drag that, jackal through those, smooth grass, he's getting he's screaming, he's shouting, he's, showing that sort of pain, yeah. So the villagers, they dragged him as much as possible through those green grasses, yeah, assuming that, that jackal is suffering, is bearing through the sort of a lot of pain, yeah. So that is how that jackal managed to stay, let's say, in a well of position. So that was the false, giving that sort of false perception to to the mind, or to the people, and to remain in that sort of a, creating that sort of false perception. So I'm not trying to say is that that will apply to mind. That means this, the perception is a veil, is a false notion, yeah, and the mind can trick us, yeah. So this perception, we think this perception is good thing. It is happiness to be perception, to be percipient of oneness, to be percipient of this universality, and there is no distinction between you and universe. That sort of in philosophies, they sound extremely fantastic. They sound extremely, good. But the thing is that, do you want to abide by the philosophies, or you want to buy that sort of false kind of claim, or you want to see for yourself, yeah. And what Buddha wanted to give us was, don't go into that sort of, all this sort of advertisement saying, to go into deep philosophies. See for yourself. And when you see for yourself, all your doubts, all your kind of concepts will vanish. That's it. You have gone through the process. And that is the process of awakening, is to going into that state of assetlessness, the state of nothing. So it's a state of nothing that can cause an impact. So it's state of not being impacted. And another another synonym for the state of freedom is called imperishable. That means You can throw millions of atom bombs, that are hydrogen bomb or any kind of nuclear explosions to destroy this nibbana. Even if any genius will try to destroy this state of nibbana, they cannot. Simply, it's just there is nothing there for them to destroy. It is not there. It's. So this is why it called everything in this universe is perishable. So perishable means it can be destroyed because because it is conditioned, because it is dependent. Yeah. So state of nothingness, state of neither perception nor non-perception, state of jhana, all these are dependent. Yeah. So as soon as that is dependent, that means it can be annihilated, it can be perished. But only thing that is not perishable, that is that no one can destroy, is that state of assetlessness. Because there is even if somebody tries, it cannot. So this is where we are different from philosophies. We are different from other practices. So our practice should be geared towards to should be looked at from that perspective. Yeah, we anything we try to be possessed of, that's it. You are not perishable. Yeah, that means that experience can drag you and keep you that sort of in that sort of state of being impacted. Yeah, impinged. So this is how I see that these are the very very basic and experiences, but they're extremely powerful and deep experiences. So that is where we are trying to head in. Yeah. So this is a and getting into that state is how do you get there? How to reach the unconditioned through the condition. This was the how can we be in that state? We can be in that state by gradual progress, gradual state of being free. So this is how Buddha uncovered this kind of a secret of being in the state of what is called the imperfection, being in the state of world and state of being free. Yeah. So all of you have seen the lotus. Yeah, Buddha is depicted as a standing on top of a lotus, and Buddha is that is the symbol, is that we cannot avoid this. We have to eat food, we have to maintain this body, we have to you make use of senses. We need to be able, we need to survive. Only if you survive, you can cross this path. Yeah. And this is the path of compromise. You use those facilities, you use those senses, you feed the senses just enough so you can survive. And then when you are whenever you have whenever you put extra demand on your senses, when you indulge, then you are already creating that sort of a extra, what is called the overhead. Yeah. So that is why I said that if you want to know if somebody is truly awakened, we cannot assess somebody is awakened by directly contact with the mind, because we haven't got that sort of ability, unless you have done some practice of doing some supernormal ability. Buddha said that there are some ways to assess somebody else's mind. You can read others' mind, but if you cannot read other people's mind, then you have to do that sort of you test those person through those sort of means. Has that person managed to maintain that sort of virtue, the simplicity of life, to know not to indulge, not to demand, not to lie, not to cheat. So those, basic principles that maintains the cordiality and harmony with everybody. Yeah. So those awakened people, they cannot even, those people, they can never cause some sort of misconduct through body, speech, and mind. Yeah, because that is what is gonna put them into the state of world. Yeah, so those are the people who will never be able to taste the freedom. Yeah, so that's why I say that if some teachers say that they are the fully they are arahat, and if they claim that they need to stay in a five-star hotel, if they want to, they need a first class, airplane tickets, and they need to eat, dine in a luxury restaurant, that really does not bode well with what the Buddha's messages are. Yeah? Buddha's message is very simple. Those who are fully awakened, they don't need much. Yeah, all they need to do is to survive and maintain this body. And those who are people, they don't really find, they are not picky about those experiences. They don't need much to survive. So that is how we can immediately assess: is this teacher kind of, following the Buddha's path, following the Buddha's path through the sort of, kind of fundamental, you know, let's say, rules of this Dhamma, or somebody else is being kind of influenced by other kind of, mental proliferation or need. Yeah, so it's kind of, they didn't need much. Or that's what I say, is that we need to assess, if somebody is really teaching, going through the Buddha's path or not. Yeah, so that is one way. Yeah, I really think I have found some teachers who did not really go through that sort of a kind of a Buddha's instruction, Buddha's advice. If you want to truly be a good teacher, and if you want to say that you are following the Buddha's path, there are eight qualities of Dhamma. Yeah, so I will share my screen again. This is, I captured that in the book. This is in Anguttara Nikaya Anguttara Nikaya, book of 8, Sutta number 53. It's called the Just Brief. And here Buddha says, on one occasion, the Blessed One dwelling in Vesali in the hall with the packet roof in the great wood, then Mahapajapati Gautami, his stepmother, yeah, who nourished him, approached to the Blessed One and paid homage to him, stood to one side and said to him, Bhante, it would be good if the Blessed One would teach the Dhamma in brief, so that, having heard the Dhamma from the Blessed One, I might dwell alone, withdrawn, heedful, ardent, and resolute. So she wanted to practice. Tell me, Lord Buddha, how do I follow your path? Yeah. So, and Buddha says that if you truly want to follow my path, yeah, so to being diligent, ardent, and resolute means somebody want to practice. Yeah. If you want to practice, and what the Buddha says, that if you truly want to practice my path, here you go. Go to me, those things of which you might know, those things lead to one, to passion, not to dispassion. Yeah. To bondage, not to detachment. To building up, to amass, yeah, to create assets, not to dismantling, to letting go. To strong desire, not to fewness of desire. What is that desire? Desire for food, desire for hotel, desire for luxury. These are the desire, yeah. To non-contentment, but to contentment. Somebody's want, I'm not, I need, more money. I want to charge double for this retreat fees. If some teachers want to demand, like, triple the fees of any normal retreat, obviously it's not being the content. Yeah, somebody's being greedy. To company, but not to solitude. Again, this is quite an important point. You can practice this path in a company, but you, even if you are in a company, you maintain the solitude of your mind. And that's why I call the chitta viveka, seclusion of your mind. This is very, very important. Yeah. It's not talking about you cannot have a sangha. It's about the is your mind secluded or not? Is your mind proliferated? Is your mind causing too much of interaction? Yeah. So you need to cut off those interaction in your mind, trying to veer towards many different places. Number seven, to laziness, not to arousing of energy. Yeah. So that this is again you when you drink alcohol, you need to excessively consume some substances, your mind become dull. And you need, if somebody is excessively trying those sort of practices and consumption of those sort of substances, they are not following the their mind becomes lazy, and it will become sloth and torpor. That is obviously they will not even manage to get into to jhana, yeah, because they are already stuck. Being difficult to support, not easy to support. Obviously, this is quite important. So that means if you want to follow the Buddha's path, you don't want the your supporter to feed you with the five-star dinner, to luxury hotel, with this first class accommodation, with your flight in a business class. If you are a teacher and if you demand that, I would stay away from those sort of teachers. Yeah, this is to me, that teacher does not deserve that much of respect, because that teacher is not following the Buddha's advice. Yeah. So this is why I am kind of reluctant to. I am not that very keen to follow some of those teachers who claim to know that they have mastered all these nirodhas. They can stay in that sort of too many days in the nirodha. I don't need that sort of all this sort of boasting. It's just we don't need that. So that is my, let's say, my perspective, and you don't need to listen to me anything. It just came from Buddha. I gave you the Sutta reference. So that's what I say, is that having that exquisite experience, very very advanced meditator teacher, meditation teacher, and somebody is being very very skilled in meditation, and they need to follow this Buddha's advice. Yeah, that is how we need to. This is how we become, established in the Dhamma. Yeah, so that is my appeal to you. Please, if you can maintain the sort of simplicity, maintain that sort of state of mind, not to arouse those sort of unnecessary uh, discord and disharmony. Because whenever you try to kind of bring those sort of unrealistic expectation, and then you start to create some friction, yeah, because you are demanding too much from your supporters, and Buddha didn't want that, yeah. That's why Buddha did not eat more than one meal a day, because he used to eat two meal a day before. But he saw that, if we gonna our bhikkhus, they will start to eat twice a day. That means the people who support him, they need to cook them for twice a day, then to feed them. People are busy. All of them, they need to survive. How can they feed the monks twice a day, and they are already poor? Yeah. So that is why it's really, really Buddha wanted to give that sort of uh, just maintain the necessity and crossover. Yeah. Once you are crossed over, you never need to eat any food. You never need to, wish for any luxury hotel. All your needs and desires and ambitions, you are quenched. Nibbana is the state of quenching. Anything you can think of, it becomes nugatory. Yeah. When you reach that state of assertlessness, unconditioned state, there is no need at all. Everything is, you are fully quenched. Yeah. So that is the state. That is the ultimate state that the Buddha wanted us to experience. Yeah. Okay. I think this is how I want to conclude today. It's been a continuous talk. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask, Do you think Niroda is a sufficient and necessary condition for experiencing Nibbana?
Okay, so let me Nibbana. When we say Nibbana is the what is called is a is a is another word for Dukha Nirodha. Yeah. So Nibbana is the fourth noble truth, which is the Nirodha of suffering. Yeah. So to be able to experience the cessation of suffering, we need to let go of the cause of suffering. So what is the cause of suffering? The cause of suffering is craving. Yeah. So we can, as long as we can let go of craving, we can experience nibbana. Yeah. So nirodha is one of those means to experience the nibbana. Yeah. So if you have not, I have been saying this in many places. You can experience nibbana from anywhere, from any jhana. So first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, arupa, from any jhana experience, you can experience nibbana. Yeah. So that means nibbana in a sense that you can experience the cessation of the experience. Yeah. So let's consider jhana is suffering. Jhana is an experience. The cessation of jhana is your is also a nibbana. Yeah. In a sense that because you have been freed from that experience. So it is possible to experience nibbana from any jhana. Nirodha is not a must. Yeah. So nirodha, and when I say nirodha, we need to distinguish: is it sanya vedahita nirodha or is it nirodha of any experience? Yeah. So if you are talking about sanya vedahita nirodha, that is not the only path to experience nibbana. But what the Buddha says is once you experience the sanya vedahita nirodha, that means there is no other way than to experience nibbana. That is like a non-provisional way to experience nibbana. You can experience nibbana from a jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. Those are still provisional because from that jhana you can fall into a state of what is called what is called jhana existences or nibbana experience. Yeah, there are two possibilities or multiple possibility from jhana. Yeah, so if you want to experience nibbana from a jhana, you need to follow this sort of practice. Yeah, of what is the practice? You need to look at the your four satipatthana. You need to look at the saptabhojanga, seven awakening factors. And when your seven awakening factors are balanced, you can experience what is called nirodha from any jhana. Yeah. So that cessation of jhana occurs any time when you have managed to get this your awakening factor balance. So in that sense, you can experience nibbana from any other place than sanya bidayata nirodha. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
I like your use of the word assetlessness. I think I might think about that one. It's an interesting term.
Yeah, so it's, in Buddha's practice, you know the word upadhi, yeah?
Okay.
Upadhi is asset, yeah? In Pali, it's called upadhi. And the after craving, what after this is called clinging, and it's called upadana, yeah? What is that clinging? Is that to amass, to acquire, yeah? What you So right after craving, you have got that clinging, yeah? Bhikkhu Bodhi calls it clinging. But what is that you are amassing? Yeah, this you are creating more asset. Yeah, right after craving, the tendency of mind is to amass. Yeah, so assetlessness is the negative. Is renunciation. Yeah, renunciation is a broad term. Assetlessness is a more specific. geared towards the state of unconditioned. Yeah. So assetlessness, when there is zero asset, that is the state of unconditioned. It is a state of, you can say it is synonym with the nibbana as well. Yeah. So if there is nothing left to let go, that means there is no clinging. When you cling, do not cling to any experience. When you do not grab any experience at all the ties have been severed. You have not amassed anything, and that is gonna chop all the bounds and the fetters with this universe. Yeah, with this mental universe or the material universe. So this asset is a very, very deep and an extremely important term. Yeah. And what you need to let go is material asset, coarser asset, and the finer asset. And the finest asset is the perception. Yeah. If you let go of perception, your imagination and your concept about the world is gonna go, and there is nothing further to let go of. Your perception and feeling, these are what is called the finest asset, finest let's say acquisition. And then so this is, I just gave you another word called acquisition. Buddha uses the word acquisition and asset. These are synonym. Yeah. Asset is like a product, and acquisition is the process of acquiring that. Yeah. So it can be a verb, it can also be a noun. Yeah. So when you do when right after craving is a verb, it's a process of acquiring, and assetlessness is the state. Yeah. A state in a practice. Yeah. So when we practice, when you let go of upadhi, when you let go of clinging, when you do not cling to anything, when you do not try to amass anything, that leads you to the assetlessness. Yeah, the state of emptiness. Okay, does that give you some sort of uh, answer to your question?
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are quite, because I can give you references, specific references, but I have got sort of notion, but I only got this. I only copied that from various suttas, but there are specific suttas that talk about those terms. Okay, Conal?
Yeah, just your story of the jackal reminded me of the Brer Rabbit stories, the American ones. There's
Yeah.
Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit. So there's a similar story to that in the American folk literature.
How mind can trick you, yeah? See, mind is
Yeah,
tricking us all the time.
it's about Brer Fox throwing Brer Rabbit into the briar patch, which
Yeah.
actually Brer Rabbit liked because he'd been born and bred in the briar patch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean a lot of these folk tales are quite similar. Aesop
Yeah,
State
yeah,
people's
exactly. Yeah, these are famous, and they are very fun.
yeah.
And I'm trying to make this a little bit interesting. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay. Yeah. I think we are. If there is no further question, I would like to thank you for all being with me in this call today.
Thank you.
Okay, let's share some meds if I can. Remember, may suffering ones be suffering free, and the fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May being inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu,
That,
sadhu,
that,
sadhu.
that.
Okay, thank you very much. See you soon. Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.